I mocked a disabled kid in school. 2 years later, I became one. Karma's real. TIFU by mocking a disabled classmate in school, only to become 1 year later. You know how everyone talks about karma like it's this cosmic boomerang? They say it'll catch up to you eventually. That no shitty act goes unpunished forever. And when you're young, 16, cocky, and dumb as hell, you don't believe that. You think you're the main character. Invincible, exempt, until karma rolls up in the passenger seat and whispers, "Watch this." Let's rewind. I was a junior in high school. Typical suburban American setting. Football games, hallway cliques, vending machines that ate your money and your soul. I was never the worst guy in school, but I was definitely one of the assholes. Varsity track, loud, sarcastic, always had something smart to say. The kind of kid who coasted through school on just enough charm to cover up being a prick. I was funny, not in the class clown way, but in the, he roasts people so well it's actually impressive way. And that was my thing. I could humiliate people with a smile. Say something just cruel enough to get laughs but not enough to get sent to the principal. I knew the line, and I danced all over it. Enter James. James was a quiet kid. Same grade. Cerebral palsy. He walked like his body was made of uneven puzzle pieces, every step jerky and forced. His left arm curled inward toward his chest. He talked a bit slow, like he was rewinding his brain between each word. People didn't bully him to his face. They did the worst thing, ignored him like he was furniture. That's how kids hurt you best. Not fists, but absence. But I turned him into a joke. It happened in gym class. We were doing warm-ups, just slow jogging around the basketball court. Nothing intense. Everyone was kind of dragging ass. James was trying, though, he always did. Even when it was obvious his body fought against every damn movement, the guy showed up. Respect, in hindsight. And then he tripped. His foot caught, or maybe his coordination just misfired, and he went down hard. Palms first, a dull smack echoing off the walls. Everyone paused. That awkward teen silence when something bad happens and nobody knows if they're allowed to laugh yet. And then I opened my dumbass mouth. Bros trying to moonwalk through molasses. I didn't even yell it. Just said it to the 3 guys around me. That was enough. They broke, laughed loud, like belly laughed, like snorted out your nose laughed. And that was all it took. The laugh spread like wildfire. The whole gym buzzed with it. James didn't say a word. Didn't flip out. Didn't cry. He just got up, brushed himself off with that stiff hand of his, and walked to the bleachers. And the look he gave me? I still see it when I close my eyes. Not hurt, not anger, just emptiness, like I wasn't even worth the energy it would take to hate me. That look cut deeper than any insult he could have thrown. Of course, I didn't get that at the time. I laughed along with everyone else. Felt like a king for the rest of that period. Like I owned the room. But James didn't come back to gym class after that. He started bringing doctor's notes. Sat in the library during PE, and every time someone saw him in the halls, they'd nudge a buddy and say, "Hey look, there goes Molasses James." They said it because of me. I didn't stop it, I encouraged it, I laughed at it, I even made a F*** King meme out of it and posted it to my Snapchat story. He never followed me, so I thought it was harmless. But it wasn't harmless. It was a slow death for him, socially. And I helped swing the axe. Even some of the teachers started calling him James M. on attendance to avoid saying his name out loud, because they knew what the students would do with it. He stopped raising his hand in class. Sat in the back instead of the front. Didn't talk to anyone anymore. And when he walked, that limp, people mimicked it behind his back, usually with a laugh and a moonwalk joke. All of it traced back to that one comment. My comment. You'd think I'd feel like shit right away, right? Nope. I rode that funny guy wave for the rest of the semester. The nickname stuck like gum to a shoe. It became a part of our school's messed up vocabulary. And yeah, eventually, I started to feel something. Not guilt exactly. More like discomfort. Like a pebble in your shoe. Something inside me whispered, "Hey man, you really **CKED that kid up." But I shoved it down. I had bigger things to focus on. Regionals, college applications, parties, girls. Senior year, I barely saw James. He'd switched some classes. I only caught glimpses of him in the halls. He was thinner, paler. More withdrawn. I heard he transferred some classes to online. One time, I saw him sitting alone in the cafeteria with headphones in, staring at nothing. And I looked away like a coward. I never apologized. I never said anything to him again. Because if I said something, it would have made it real. Instead, I just pretended like it never happened. Like I didn't break someone's spirit for a laugh. That's the messed up thing about teenage cruelty. It's treated like a phase. But for the person on the receiving end, it becomes part of who they are. Graduation came. I walked the stage with my little gold cord. Parents cheered. Life looked good. I had a partial scholarship lined up for college track. I was training hard, running fast, building strength. I felt untouchable. I thought I'd escaped the fallout of what I did. But karma? Karma was just doing warm-ups. It happened so damn fast, I almost didn't believe it happened at all. Like 1 second I was alive in every way a person can be. Music humming through the car, cold air from the window keeping me awake, hands on the wheel, head buzzing with plans, and the next second. Gone. Everything. Just gone. Let me back up. This was the summer after high school. I'd just turned 18. My acceptance letter was hanging on the fridge like a trophy. My parents threw me a little barbecue to celebrate my partial sports scholarship. The plan was simple. Go to college, dominate track, major in kinesiology, and maybe one day coach or even go pro. That was my identity. The runner, the athlete, the guy who doesn't stop moving. It was late July. I'd been hanging out at my friend Jake's place. Nothing wild. We'd aged out of the chaotic parties and mostly stuck to gaming, junk food, and talking shit about people we'd probably never see again. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't high. I wasn't being reckless, at least not in the traditional way. Just tired, but I wanted to sleep in my own bed. That's the kind of dumb decision that breaks people forever. So I got behind the wheel of my mom's old sedan. The road home was quiet, suburban, familiar. I'd driven it 100 times. I cracked the window, turned the volume down low, and thought if I just focused, I'd be fine. But I didn't focus. I drifted. Not my car, my mind. My eyes closed for maybe 3 seconds. Maybe 2. Just enough time to become a statistic. I veered into the opposite lane and slammed into a tree at about 50 miles per hour. It wasn't dramatic. I didn't flip, or fly off a cliff, or cause a massive pile-up. Just me, steel, bark, and physics. Simple. Brutal. When I woke up, if you can call it that, I didn't understand what I was seeing. There was no context to it. I heard metal groaning, a high-pitched beeping, and a woman screaming. I couldn't tell if it was me. And then pain, like nothing I've ever felt. Not sharp, not even hot, just deep. Like pain underneath everything else. Like my bones themselves were crying out. I tried to move. Nothing. My legs weren't responding. At all. I looked down and saw my right foot twisted at an angle that didn't make sense. Then I passed out again. The next time I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, my mom crying beside me, and some nurse calmly explaining something about surgery and nerve damage. My mouth was dry. My tongue felt like cardboard. And all I could croak out was, "Can I walk?" No one answered right away. That silence said more than any words could. 2 surgeries later, a doctor finally sat me down and gave it to me straight. I'd fractured my spine in 2 places, lumbar vertebrae. I had significant damage to my spinal cord and severe trauma to both knees. He said the words with clinical precision, like he was reading off a clipboard at gunpoint. We don't expect a full recovery. With intensive rehab, you may regain some mobility. But unaided walking is unlikely. Prepare for long-term assistive devices. He said it like it was just info. Like he was ordering soup. And meanwhile, I'm sitting there, a broken ex-athlete, trying not to scream. The next few weeks were hell. I couldn't even pee by myself. My body, this thing I'd built like a machine over years of training, had completely turned on me. Every little thing I took for granted became a mission. Brushing my teeth, turning over in bed, scratching my leg without realizing I couldn't feel my leg anymore. And the shame. Oh God, the shame. Not just the kind that comes from being helpless. Not just the kind that comes from watching your mom help you wipe your ass at 18. But a deeper shame. The kind that bubbles up from something you deserve. Because as I sat there, trapped in my own body, you know what face kept showing up in my head? James. James with his limp. James with his bent arm. James with that quiet strength I didn't understand back then. James. The kid I humiliated in front of an entire gym class for laughs. I'd gone a full year without thinking of him once. But now, I couldn't stop. I remembered his silence, his walk, the way he refused to react. The way I mocked him, named him, erased him socially like it was funny. I was him now, or worse, because at least he knew how to survive in a world that doesn't care if you're broken. I was brand new to this. Weak, bitter, scared, useless. I didn't laugh anymore, and suddenly, no one else did either. The friends who used to hype me up, they visited once or twice, then vanished. The girl I'd been talking to stopped replying. Coaches stopped checking in. Everyone moved on, and I was stuck in a bed with a broken body and a mind haunted by what I'd done. That night in the hospital, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying that joke over and over in my head. Moonwalking through molasses. How the hell did I say that like it was just a punchline? I wasn't just injured. I wasn't just paralyzed. I was exposed. To myself. To who I really was. And I didn't like what I saw. You think the worst part about becoming disabled overnight is the obvious stuff. The pain, the physical limitations, the loss of independence. And sure, all that is brutal. There's nothing romantic about being wheeled to a bathroom where you need help just getting your pants down. There's no silver lining to the moment when a nurse says, "We'll clean that up, don't worry," while you're crying because your body betrayed you again. But that's not the worst part. Not even close. The worst part is when you come face to face with the one person you used to think was beneath you. The person you mocked, dismissed, humiliated, only to realize they've grown into someone you're not even sure you could become. That's the part that cuts. That's the real pain, the emotional kind that no rehab or surgery can fix. It was 6 months post-crash. I'd just gotten through my second major spinal surgery and was doing outpatient rehab 3 days a week. I wasn't in a good place. I still had no function in my right leg, and my left was barely twitching on command. I'd gained a little upper body strength from using the wheelchair, but it was survival strength, not power, not pride. It was the kind of strength that lets you fall less hard. That's about it. I was in the hospital cafeteria that day, chewing through a protein bar that tasted like sweetened drywall, when I saw him. James. And he was walking, not limping, not dragging his leg, not hunched over or braced on some walker like I remembered. He was just walking. Smooth, normal, controlled. He looked like someone you'd pass on the street without a second glance. Black hoodie, jeans, calm energy. It completely short-circuited my brain. For a second, I didn't believe it was him. I actually thought maybe I'd hallucinated it. My memory of James was stuck in time, stiff, crooked, quiet, fading into the background. But this version of him? This was a man, and not just that, he looked free. Meanwhile, I was sitting there with wheels under my ass and resentment in my chest, trying to keep my spine straight and my dignity intact. I tried to look away, but it was too late. He'd seen me, and just like that, we were locked in this weird, silent standoff. His eyes didn't look angry. They weren't cruel, they were just, still. I don't know how else to explain it. He looked at me the way someone looks at a building they used to live in, not with nostalgia, not with hate, just with memory. And then he walked over. I started panicking. Internally, my brain was screaming. What do I say? What the hell can I possibly say? How do you apologize to someone you laughed into isolation? How do you make up for years of being the guy who ruined someone's name, their identity, their peace? He stopped in front of my table, hands in the pocket of his hoodie. "Hey," he said. I blinked. Hey." His voice was still soft, slow in that measured way, but confident. Clearer than I remembered. "You're James," I said, like a dumbass. He nodded, barely. "Yeah, I remember you too." Gut punch. I looked down. I couldn't hold his gaze. "You remember?" "Yeah," he cut in. "I remember the joke. I remember that whole week." He wasn't trying to twist the knife. He was just saying facts. Like a weather report. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I was such a F***C king asshole. I don't even know why. He held up a hand. "You were a kid. I've heard worse. From better people." That line? That wrecked me. Not because he was cruel, but because he wasn't. He had every right to be. He had every right to spit in my face, and instead, he was standing there composed, measured, even a little kind. I hated how much better of a person he was than I'd ever been. "You look good," I said, instantly regretting how weird that sounded. He smiled, barely. "Yeah, a lot of rehab, free surgeries, Physical therapy since I was 13. Core strength training, speech therapy, resistance bands, yoga. Every day. I nodded like I understood. But I didn't. I was just beginning to understand what it meant to have to fight for function every morning. He'd been doing that his whole life. And all I'd ever done was laugh. I didn't think you'd remember me, I muttered. I remembered, he said. But I let it go. Why? I asked, honestly. You could hate me. You should. James looked at me, then shrugged slightly. Hate burns calories I need for rehab. That made me laugh. First time in months I'd laughed without pain behind it. He nodded toward my wheelchair. You gonna walk again? I don't know, I said. Maybe. Right leg's dead weight. They think maybe I'll use crutches, but I don't know. He paused for a second, then said, it sucks. But you'll get better, one way or another. I nodded, not knowing what to say. He didn't owe me encouragement. But there he was, offering it anyway. And then he just walked away. No dramatic pause, no cinematic revenge. Just turned and left, smooth stride down the hallway, back to whatever life he'd carved out for himself. I sat there for a long time after that, staring at my reflection in the window, seeing someone I didn't recognize. Because James wasn't just a ghost from my past. He was a mirror now. One that showed me what it looked like to endure real pain, real struggle, and come out stronger. And I was still stuck in the middle of my story. Still bitter, still broken, but for the first time, I wanted to get better. Not just physically, not just to walk again. I wanted to deserve it. You'd think that seeing James again would have triggered some epic montage moment. That I'd wake up the next morning with fire in my chest, wheel into rehab like a beast, and fight my way back to walking again. Cue the dramatic music, slow motion sweat, inspirational quotes. That's not what happened. What actually happened is that I went back to my room, pulled the blanket over my head, and cried until I couldn't breathe. Not big, loud sobs. Not cinematic. Just that quiet, pathetic kind of crying you do when everything inside you breaks loose and there's no one around to see the mess. No pride left to hold on to. Just a heavy chest and a burning throat. It wasn't just about the accident. It wasn't even just about the disability. It was about everything. I cried because I'd spent years thinking I was better than someone who was clearly stronger than I'd ever been. Because I realized how much of my personality had been built on shallow wins, speed, charm, jokes, popularity. None of it mattered now. All that was stripped away, and what was left, was ugly. Raw, soft in the worst places. And maybe that was the first honest version of me I'd ever actually met. For a few days, I didn't do much. I went to therapy. I nodded. I did the bare minimum. I smiled politely when my PT asked how I was doing. Fine, I'd say. Getting better. But inside, I was drowning in it. The weight of memory. The echo of that gym class. The joke. The silence. James getting up, alone, brushing himself off. Me laughing. Me walking away like I was untouchable. But the thing about guilt is, it's a fuel source. A shitty one, but still fuel. And eventually, it became something I could either burn down with or burn through. I started with small things. I stopped skipping my afternoon sessions. I got to the gym early. I started watching other patients, not in a competitive way, but with curiosity. Admiration. Some of these people had been injured 10 years ago. Some were kids. Some were war vets. Some were car crash survivors like me. Every single one of them had something I didn't: humility. I learned more from watching them silently struggle than I ever learned from a coach yelling on a track. Then came the real work. My therapist started pushing me harder. You're capable of more than you think, she said. But only if you want it. And for the first time, I really did want it. Not because I believed I'd walk again someday. Not even because I needed to prove anything. But because I was tired of hating myself. I was tired of being the guy in the mirror who flinched when he remembered what he used to be like. Rehab wasn't a heroic journey. It was repetitive, painful, unforgiving. Every day, I worked muscles that barely moved. I cursed at rubber bands, cried after stair sessions, shook through balance drills. I hated my legs. I hated gravity. I hated the grip strength it took just to get off a toilet. But day by day, something changed. My posture shifted. My hands stopped trembling. I learned how to fall without fear, and how to get back up with intention. I learned how to laugh again, not at others, not at weakness, but at the absurdity of it all. At how life had flipped me over and said, now you try. One night, after a particularly grueling set of parallel bar walks, I wheeled back into my room, drenched in sweat, and just sat there. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel like a victim. I didn't even feel like a project. I felt like a person. I kept thinking about James. Not obsessively, but like a compass point. Like a reminder of who I could be. Someone who survived humiliation and pain and still chose to move forward. Someone who never needed to clap back because he was already too far ahead. I wrote him a letter. I didn't send it, I didn't even sign it. Just wrote and folded it up and tucked it in my drawer. But in it, I told the truth. I said, "You were stronger than me even back then. I just didn't have the guts to see it." And that felt real. Like healing. Weeks turned into months. Eventually, I could stand. Then walk a few steps. Then a few more. I graduated from wheelchair to walker, then walker to forearm crutches. I still couldn't run. Might never. But I could move. Not just my body, but my life. When I got discharged, I didn't strut out. I didn't throw my crutches in the air. I wheeled out quietly, on my own terms. No fanfare, no finish line, just a new start. I enrolled in online courses. I started volunteering at a local community center, helping teens with disabilities learn adaptive sports. Most of them didn't care about my story. They were busy living their own. But every now and then, I'd catch a kid who reminded me of James, quiet, focused, underestimated, and I'd smile. Not out of pity, out of respect. Sometimes I still dream about running. I wake up sweaty, heart pounding, legs burning with that phantom ache. And then I remember, I'm not who I was. I never really was that guy to begin with. But now I'm someone in progress. Someone who's earned their scars. Someone who understands that walking isn't the same as moving forward. And maybe I'll never be fast again. But I'll always move with intention. And for the first time in my life, that's enough.